Okay, so last time we talked about the laws of indices where we discussed four basic laws, and we discussed the addition law, that's the law here. Then it tells us that whenever we have a base and these bases are the same and they are multiplying each other, just pick one of the base and then you add up the index. Next, we talked about the subtraction law, which is this one down here, number 2, which tells us that whenever we have a division sign that two bases are dividing each other, we just do what? Pick one of the base again and then we subtract the index. Then we entered into the negative index law, and this negative index law was talking about whenever we have a number, if we have a number and that number is raised to the power of a negative index, then you just take 1 over that negative number, 1 over that number. So to be a raised to the power minus x would be 1 over a raised to the power of x. The negative sign disappears at this junction. Then we took an example of saying a raised to the power minus 2 to be what? 1 over a raised to the power of what? 2. Okay, so let's take more. We then further went on to talk about the zero index law. And the zero index law, we said that any number raised to the power of 0 is 1, but we give a clause that that number must be bounded by the raised to the power of 0. So for this to happen, it means that, like now, this is 50 million raised to the power of 0. It means that everything here is bounded, right, by 0, and that gave us 1. But for this case here, minus 2 raised to the power of 0, we saw that only 2 was bounded, because I could break down this number to be what? Minus 1 times 2 raised to the power of 0. So you see that this is only affecting 2, and that's why we had what? Minus 1 times 1 is equal to, sorry, I remember it was minus 1 here. Then lastly, I now showed you how the thing could happen. What could you do, or what will you do that this will happen? This will become 1. And that was what I said, minus 2 raised to the power of 0. When you put it in brackets, then your 0 is affecting everything and it becomes 1. Now that brings us into a particular new law called your product law. Now let's take this screen, let's move it ahead further, called your product law. Now your product law is just going to continue from what I just stopped at. Now let's write it out. Product law. Our product law tells us that whenever you have an a raised to the power of an x, whenever you have an a multiplying, let's say, a b, and they are all raised to the power of an x. Now this is why it is called product law. It will be equal to what? A raised to the power of x multiplying b raised to the power of x. Or you can easily say a x raised to the power of x, b raised to the power of x. For example, remember I told you that this x, since it is in a bracket, is affecting everything inside. For example, let's say 2x raised to the power of what? Let's say 3. Now if you have this, it will be what? 2 raised to the power of 3 multiplying x, or you can just, okay, x raised to the power of what? 3. So this will be what? 2 raised to the power of 3 is what? 8, and then multiplying x to the power of 3 is still x raised to the power of 3. You can write this in easily as what? 8x raised to the power of 3, and you're done. Is that okay? Now that is how you deal with product law, with the product law. Now let's try to use a little bit more tricky case. When they give you let's say we are given okay, let's say 12 xy, let's say square here. Okay, let me make it 12 x square y, and then we're having a raised to the power of, let's say, 3. Now before I solve this thing, I would like to talk about also inside product law. There's something I didn't really emphasize on. If we're given a number like this, let me take this to it. Let me wipe off this particular one. We'll get back to it. So we'll get back to this particular solving we are doing. So if we're given a particular law inside product law, this is a particular extension of the law. If we have a raised to the power of m, and then it is raised to the power of, now remember I didn't want to use m, so let me take it out. I didn't want to use m, so I still don't want to be using m. I'm a Nigerian guy. So a raised to the power of x raised to the power of y. Now when you have something like this kind of case, it becomes a raised to the power of x multiplying y, and that gives us a raised to the power of what? Xy. Because when you are opening the brackets, then the product will multiply the other power. So the power here will multiply the other power. So index multiply index, x multiply y, and you have xy. Therefore, in this particular case where we have this question, where they gave us 12x squared y, and we are told this raised to the power of 3, the answer will be what? 12 raised to the power of 3. Let's take it step by step. And 12 raised to the power of 3, x raised to the power of 2. Because see what happens here, when it opens, it multiplied the power, so it will be 2 times 3, and y raised to the power of 3. Now let me take it out so that my head won't block it. Okay, so and then what happens next? 12 raised to the power of 3 is what? We can check it out. We know that 12 times 12 will give us 144, and when you multiply it again by another 12, let me bring in my calculator so that I won't waste my time multiplying this. So my calculator, let's bring it in. Now I can check it out here. So I have that 12 raised to the power of 3, that's 1728. So I have this as 1728, and then 2 times 3 is 6, right? So we have x raised to the power of what? 6, and y raised to the power of 3, and this is the final answer. Is that okay? Very good. Now let's enter into another different aspect of product law. Now let me show you another different aspect of how product law can look like. Let's try this question out. Understand product law. Now what if we're given 5a raised to the power of minus y. Now what will the value be? It will become what? To become, remember this is a minus sign, right? Okay, let's say 5a raised to the power of, let's say 5ay. Yeah, let's say 5a raised to the power of y bracket minus y. Then remember this is a negative sign, right? And I told you that whenever you have a negative sign, you use a negative index law. So it will be 1 over 5a raised to the power of y bracket what? Y. Is that okay? Yeah. Now what's the next thing? I can now open these brackets, and it becomes 1 over 5 raised to the power of y, a raised to the power of y times y. And what does it give you? It gives you 1 over 5 raised to the power of y, and then a raised to the power of y. That's when you have y times y, you have y squared. So you see, this is a very funny scenario where y times y is giving us, so we're having a 3-laddered index. So we have a base, an index, still carrying an index again on top of it. So it's a very funny scenario, but you get to see some of this when you keep on solving extension, that's when you keep solving more on indices. So that's it on product